One small mistake, but it can change a whole life. Jalen stands in court, gazing into the eyes of those around him, feeling the judgment in every glance. He didn't commit the crime, but will anyone believe him? This trial is not just the battle of a young man against injustice. It's the fight for courage, the truth, and a single chance to prove that sometimes, with just one more try, you can change everything. On a bleak morning at the Los Angeles courthouse, a 19-year-old teenager named Jalen Dawson was escorted into the courtroom with a calm, almost cold demeanor. He was accused of car theft and resisting law enforcement, charges severe enough to terrify anyone. But not Jalen. He held his head high, his sharp gaze sweeping across the room filled with strangers, most of whom looked at him with suspicion, contempt, or even mockery. Judge Grayson, known for his strictness and disdain for young offenders, looked at Jalen as if he had already decided the verdict before the trial began. He flipped through the file on the desk, shook his head slightly, and spoke with a sarcastic tone. "Ah, another genius who thinks he can outsmart the law." Laughter rippled through the audience seats. No one expected the silent teenager standing before them to do the unthinkable, to make the entire justice system reevaluate itself. As the public defender began to present a weak defense, Jalen suddenly interrupted. He turned to Judge Grayson, his voice calm but resolute. "I want to defend myself." The courtroom fell silent. A 19-year-old, without a law degree, daring to confront the entire justice system? The public defender frowned, and the judge chuckled dismissively, clearly not taking it seriously. "Do you think this is a joke?" Grayson asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Jalen didn't respond. He quietly stepped up to the podium, requesting to speak. After a few moments of hesitation, the judge, perhaps out of curiosity, granted permission. And from that moment, what seemed like a straightforward trial began to take a different turn. No one anticipated that the teenager standing there would leave the entire room breathless. Jalen stood upright, hands free of any papers, eyes looking straight ahead. He began to speak, not about himself, but about his mother. "My mother is a cleaning lady who can't read, but she never missed a day of work, even when she was so sick she couldn't get out of bed." The courtroom seemed to soften. Jalen's voice was slow, slightly trembling, but not weak. He continued, speaking about his father, who left before Jalen could even say Dad. About the nights he sat in the hallway, waiting for his mother to return from work with a small loaf of bread. "I grew up. No one taught me how to behave in a courtroom. But I know one thing. I am not a thief." Jalen paused, looking directly at the prosecutor. "I didn't take anything. I just walked into that store because I was cold. And I was hungry." No one spoke. Even the prosecutor didn't immediately refute. In that moment, the small black teenager was no longer a defendant, but a human being, honest, vulnerable, and pitiable. The judge sat motionless. He didn't take notes, didn't interrupt, nor did he show sympathy. He just looked at Jalen for a long time. Behind, an elderly woman with graying hair and a slender figure raised her hand to cover her mouth. It was Jalen's mother. She didn't cry. She just looked at her son as if she had never seen him so grown up, so mature. "I just want my mother to be proud, at least once," Jalen whispered, his eyes still fixed on the judge, "even if it's the last time." In that heavy room, no one expected those words to change everything. The atmosphere in the courtroom seemed to freeze. No whispers. No one pulled out their phone. Only the slow spinning of the ceiling fan and the tightening heartbeats of those listening. The judge gently leaned forward. His eyes were no longer cold. "Jalen," he said, his voice deep and firm, "you made a mistake. But today you've done something many people can't achieve in a lifetime, facing your mistakes and taking responsibility." The room remained silent. No one dared to breathe heavily. Even Jalen was stunned. A minute, then 2 minutes passed. No one spoke. Jalen's eyes turned red, but not from fear, but because for the first time, after years of living in the shadows, he felt seen. The judge lightly tapped the gavel. A thud echoed, marking a new chapter in his life. "The court will postpone sentencing for 3 months," he said. "During that time, Jalen will participate in the city's special rehabilitation program. If completed successfully, the sentence will be reconsidered." People began to murmur. Some sighed in relief. Some were teary-eyed. 3 months later, Jalen stepped out of the rehabilitation center, Light rain was falling, but he didn't avoid it. He looked up, letting the droplets fall on his face, as a way to wash away the past. He had completed the program. It wasn't easy, but he didn't give up. For the first time, he felt worthy. Mr. Jenkins was waiting at the gate, under an old umbrella. "Ready for a new chapter?" he asked warmly. Jalen nodded, saying nothing, but his eyes said it all. On his first day at law school, Jalen felt everything was unfamiliar. Everyone around was engrossed in thick books and lengthy essays. He only had an old backpack and a burning passion. It was hard to fit in. He was still the newcomer, the one with a past no one wanted to know. But he didn't care. He had overcome the toughest challenges in his life. And now, he wouldn't back down. The lecturer entered the class. His eyes scanned the students. "We'll start with a simple question," he said firmly. "Who can define justice?" Jalen looked up. He didn't raise his hand, but all eyes in the room turned to him, because in that moment he knew he was the one who would change everything. The first year at law school passed quickly. Jalen spent most of his time in the library, studying every law and historical case. He recalled the tough days in the rehabilitation center, times when it seemed impossible to continue.